Anyways.
Let's start. Okay. I remember when I received my first smartphone. I spent almost all day playing with it and figuring it out. I happened to be in high school at the time, and I was just a few months away from graduating. I found myself actually dropping test scores and forgetting about assignments because I spent so much time playing with my smartphone. Do we forget about what is most important? How much time do we spend using our devices to access social media? I will use myself as an example. I am a full-time college student. I am studying at Brigham Young University, Idaho. I am studying 14 credit hours a week. That means out of the 96 hours that the week gives me while I'm awake, I am studying or in class for 28 hours. That gives me 68 hours a week to find other things to do. If most college students are like me, they always will say, I'm overwhelmed, I have too much to do, or I am just too busy. I can't do that. So where does all of our extra time go? I would like to speak about the time we spend completing real-life tasks and the time that we spend following the social media. First, I will speak about the changes in lifestyle, the way that we live now in the 21st century. Later, I would like to discuss time management using a simple method called big rocks. I'm convinced that we can do more with our time and even do it better, whatever it may be, family, work, or your faith. I believe it comes down to some good time management. Do we actually believe our time is being well spent on smart devices or on the internet? I would like to show you what a few experts have said about internet usage and spending too much time on those devices. In a study completed by Valentina Rotondi, information on the social disadvantages of using a smartphone, too much use of a smartphone were addressed. She found that in Italy, as the percentage of internet usage on any device grew, the interaction with friends and family of those people decreased. How many of you have felt that there wasn't just enough time to see a loved one, or that the day just flew by and you couldn't visit a friend? On those days that are so busy and loaded, how much time were you spending on the internet? The other day I got a new job. I work in the office at the apartment building where I live. We had an office meeting on my very first day of work, and our managers asked us to not use our phones during work because it gives off a bad image. I considered it and decided to follow the rule, until just a few days later I saw two of my managers listening to Spotify and using their cell phones in the office. I decided to study a little and found out why it may be a company policy. I found a study done by a man named Ellis Duke. He did a study on addictive behaviors, and one section was based on smartphone addiction. In the case study, a group of office workers were asked to work without their phones for a week, and then the next week they were allowed to use their phones. They were given a certain test called the SAS, where they were scored on their productivity. Here are some interesting numbers from the test in the first week. In the first week, they snuck their phones in the office, where they weren't allowed to, and were on their phones for about an average of 3 hours, with less productivity. When they were allowed phone usage the next week, they used their phones on an average of 4 hours every day, completing tasks and doing other things on their phones. In the first week, productivity was lower than in the second week. This study is not to prove that smartphone usage is productive or not. It is actually about how we manage our time. I came across a great teaching the other day called Big Rocks. I didn't write this speech to convince you that you need to stop using your smartphones. I wrote it so that we as college students can use our time better and manage our time more wisely. If any of you serve missions or maybe saw a missionary, you might have seen this before. This half carton of empty milk, half milk carton, represents a day, one day in our life. And there's a few things that we can put into our day. There's water, which represents things that are mindless, that don't really mean anything. There's sand, which are maybe emails or other stuff that's not super important. There's little rocks that are a little more important, but not the biggest stuff. And then there's your big rocks. Your big rocks are the things that are most important to you. Your family, your friends, your homework maybe, if you're a student. So in our day, a lot of times college students do our day this way. We start out with the mindless stuff. And then we decide we better start doing something, so we open up our laptops. But then we open up our laptops and we do other mindless stuff that's a little more important. Maybe that wasn't the most important, you know? We start filling up our day with a little bit of stuff that's not super important. Then later we decide we better get a move on with our homework, little things, home teaching, which I haven't done. And we start doing other things. We get all that done. Then we decide, oh no, I forgot about all the important stuff, the super important stuff. Like going to the gym, maybe going to visit someone that's sick. I don't know, something that's gonna be important, your faith, homework. And then you want to read your scriptures at the end of the day, and it just doesn't fit in the day. And that's about how a lot of our days go. It just doesn't fit. But with a little bit of rearranging, you'll see that we can actually make it fit and have time for more stuff. In the second example, we have a different day, where somebody decides to, instead of doing it last, does the important things first. He studies, reads the scriptures, goes to the gym, and what's this one? Homework. He does his homework. As you can see, they all fit, but there's still room for more. So you start doing the sort of important stuff. And oh shit. And you can see that you can fit a lot of stuff in there. Alright, you did a lot of that sort of important stuff. There's still room for more. So you want to do this kind of important stuff. So this is like, I don't know, Pinterest, Instagram, catching up with friends, I don't know, whatever you want. You can see there's plenty of room for it. Even more, if you want more. Plenty of room still. And then your day's not over yet, and you still are gonna have time for the even less important stuff like BuzzFeed, I don't even know, Battlefront. Who knows? Something that's not super important, but that maybe you like to do for mindless brain candy. And as you can see, if you do simple time management, you can find a lot more time in your day, and you can fit in the big rocks. I need this real quick. So, as you can see, if we do a little bit of time management, organization, we can fit in the most important things and have time for everything else. There is a good way to utilize our time and to put our smartphones and other devices to good use. Just as I asked in the beginning, do we forget about what is most important? I say that we can manage our time wisely, complete our duties for the day, and we will always find time to fill that jar with brain candy. I know that time management is the key to controlling the great power that we hold in our hands.